Listen, y'all.
Breaking this bag title is like one of the coolest. So if you don't know, we spend time planning this. We actually do plan this, and we have to come up with the names of the bags all the time. And so Mr. P,
That would
Prof
be me.
P,
Yeah,
Provost P,
That's all.
Bobby Pins on Instagram, Bobby_Pins. He
BOPPY_PENS.
and on Twitter.
That's right.
He said we should call this bag the Breaking Bag.
Breaking Bad.
And I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
Brilliant. He's from Michigan. Shouts to Michigan. And so in the world right now, there's just widespread fuckery. Keep in mind of all of this, while all this racial tension is happening, it's the perfect storm because this is the backdrop of COVID-19. Over 100,000 people in the States have perished. They're no longer with us.
It's not enough just for us to have a global pandemic.
It's not enough.
It's not enough for a.black and for me to have had these experiences where, true story, I was on vacation in Thailand, January 4th, left Shenzhen. Shenzhen was humming like how it is, a city of 20 million people, humming in full swing. And when I come back on February 5th, crickets.
Nothing. And this is normal. This is a normal occurrence because it's Chinese New Year and Shenzhen is a migrant city, so people move here for work and then they move away during Chinese New Year. But it's never this quiet.
I'm gonna tell you something. It was tumbleweed in the streets, you know, and so it wasn't enough just for that to happen. We got the widespread fuckery going on. We got the COVID, and if it's not enough for us to have COVID, we had the rest of the stuff going on at the same time.
In Michigan, his home, there was a lot of it was a natural disaster. There were a lot of flooding, and people over thousands of people had to evacuate their homes, leave their homes. So could you imagine having to leave your home during a virus pandemic, man?
Pandemic in full swing. It's killing people. If it's not killing people, it's making them so sick that their lives are forever altered. You know, some of these diseases that people are developing as a result of this COVID situation can cause serious long-term issues, you know, respiratory issues. For sure. You know, it could be blood issues. They could put you on a medication. That the medication that they put you on would then make it so that you have another issue for long-term. So you have all of that that's happening. You're supposed to be social distancing. You're supposed to be staying home. You're supposed to be wearing a mask. You're supposed to be
washing hands.
All of that. And then now, in the middle of Michigan, they had 2 dams break up near Midland, Michigan, and a whole lake. One of the articles said that a whole lake got erased overnight. So now you not only have a national pandemic, but in your hometown you have a national disaster that's forced you out of your homes. What do you do?
I couldn't. It would just be devastating.
I do feel like I would be absolutely heartbroken.
It would be devastating.
I feel like at that point I would have already been scared, but at least I would have felt like I had shelter.
Right.
You know, but now I feel like I would be as close to a broken person as a person could get at that point, because now, like, really, where do you go? Who can take you in?
And again,
how do you even get taken in?
And so
my heart goes out.
Shouts to all those people.
That's awful.
It's horrible what you're going through, and we stand with you, and let us know if we can support you in any way. But it comes back to the conversation we were having earlier, because the National Guard has been called to combat some of the violence that's happening during the protests.
All right.
Violence. Some guard violence. There is some violence happening. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying it's not happening. I'm not there to say what's happening, what's not happening.
All right.
But I know that most people want to see this resolved peacefully.
What you want to say, a.black? What you want to say? Say it.
I'm gonna ask the question. If you were making decisions, would you just send the National Guard to combat protest, protect capitalism, or would you send them to like a place that actually needs the help, where it's a natural disaster, where people are being evacuated from their homes during a pandemic?
I'm gonna tell you that one of the hardest parts about the question that you just asked too is that there's a really high probability, especially in the Great Lakes region, that those 2 dams that failed were put together by the what do they call them? That's messed up that the name was just on my mind. The Army Corps of Engineers. Yeah, like, it's really common in the Great Lakes and in a lot of places that the Army Corps of Engineers, that they're the ones who design these dams and things like that. So that means that it is the Army's responsibility to mobilize when a dam fails, right? to go in and do all the rest of that because it's the Army Corps of Engineers who put the thing together most of the time. But there's private dams also. But in the Great Lakes, we have a lot of dams where the Army Corps of Engineers does that thing, especially up in Wisconsin, Minnesota.
So you're the governor of Michigan.
Do you send the National Guard? I think
you're the president. I was president. Shout to Wycliffe.
You know what? I don't know. I'll just go ahead and say it. I don't know. That I would have to look at a whole bunch of. It would be details. The details would cause that decision. But I don't envy anybody who has to make that decision right now. How about you?
And I feel my heart goes out, to people on both sides of the front lines. People who are in the National Guard who support the protests, but they got to do their job.
Right.
Like following orders. My heart goes out to them because they have to make a tough decision every day to stand on the other side, even though their ideals align with the people that are protesting, police brutality. And it's crazy because
man, it's really going down right now.
It's really going down,
really going
and there's
down.
looting happening, and people's like, no, that's not the right way to do it. And there's been so much conversation about what's the right way to do it. What's the right way to protest? There is no right way to protest. It's a protest. That's the whole point. It's supposed to go against something. There's no right way to go against. There is a structure. We believe in society. We all agree on certain rules in a society, right? We agree that we're going to be good people so we can belong to the society and you can be a respectable member of society. But when your society doesn't protect you and the rules that everybody else follows in the society don't apply to you because you look different, then how can you expect people to continue to support society when society doesn't support the people?
I think that those are good questions. I'm gonna say that I disagree on the part about there being no rules to the protest. The rules are about what are your goals and what are your timelines. I know that there are gatherings where people don't really have well-defined goals and timelines. And I'm the first person to say that if you really don't have well-defined goals and timelines, then stay home. I'm also the type of person to say if you're going to go out and you're going to mobilize, make sure that you have goals and timelines because you don't want to just be out there for nothing. Now, I'm from Detroit. If you don't know, now you know, 1967, Detroiters, those of us who consider ourselves socially responsible and not agents of, racism and division, we don't call that a riot. We call that an uprising. I'm the type of person, because we talk about language being important, the stuff that's happening, that's called civil unrest. Those are uprising. Media, the media, the mass media, shout out to you. We're doing media right now. But, there are certain people who their agendas are intertwined with state agendas, right? Not everybody, right? But a lot of people are. And that's not me talking bad on anybody's agenda. Because I empathize with anybody out there who's afraid enough and who has so little imagination that, that their ideals and ideologies are run by, stuff like scarcity, right? The idea that there's not enough for everybody and, you have to be afraid of these people and think about how to marginalize those folks and you just constantly feeling threatened all the time. I empathize with you if that's who you are. But that's not who I am. So I'm just going to say, when it comes to civil unrest, when it comes to these uprisings, I do feel learn from Detroit 67, y'all. There was a rebellion, but, if rebellion doesn't have, well organized, or you don't already have whatever government that you want to replace the other government, not to say that I'm advocating for that, but if you don't have that in play, you feel like your government is incompetent or whatever, it's not enough, or a branch of your government, not the whole government, it's not enough just for you to rebel, but you got to come to the table with specific goals, specific timelines, and specific things that you want to see changed. And, if the people who are leading that narrative before you began to take over, albeit reluctantly, and lead that narrative, if they weren't doing it correctly, then you have to be ready, to do that. And then by the same token, there's also a lot of other stuff going on. What you want to say about it, A.black?
I love that.
Thanks.
We talking about.
We in this.
What's
in
up,
the
Rafi?
bag.
Good to see you, bro.
Yeah, baby. Yeah.
Rafi in the building.
Let's go.
Rafi joined us live. Holla at us on the podcast Instagram, man. Rafi's in the building.
Yeah.
Rafi's hanging out. And so hope Rafi's doing great. But yeah, we're just talking about we're talking about Detroit. We're talking about Michigan. And
Talk about Michigan.
Let's get into one of Michigan's finest.
Whoa.
Southwest T
Heyo.
is out.
Southwest T, baby.
Is out because of COVID. In the prisms. In the prisms? Yeah, prisms. In the prisons.
BMF.
The virus began to spread, and it's getting crazy, and people with certain health conditions are being released for house arrest.
That's right.
And so Southwest T is one of the original founders and leaders of the Black Mafia Family.
The Black Mafia Family.
And so he got arrested in 2008 on CCE, not RICO.
That's right.
And it led us to this question. We're talking about, police brutality, talking about racism, talking about natural disasters, the National Guard.
Oh, I love this question.
It led us to the question is, do organizations like the Black Mafia Family wield enough influence to stop police brutality?
Do organizations such as the Black Mafia Family
And if you don't know who the
influence?
BMF is, you got to look them up. Look them up, do your due diligence, do your research.
Yeah, I'm not going to say nothing
on
about
how
it.
much power they have.
I'm not going to say nothing about it, but I do think that organizations like BMF, because, I think one of the important things about this question is that it takes us to a time where when we talk about the threat narrative, okay, which this is language that I haven't introduced in this podcast until now, but I feel like it's important for us to talk about when we talk about economic agendas, we talk about the threat narrative, right? This threat narrative is a real threat narrative, okay? And it's a threat narrative whereby which we assign certain values to certain individuals, certain threat values to people, right? And it's a very organized thing. And it's put there for a reason because it's put there to protect people's power. It's all about state agency, right? So when you talk about individuals like BMF, okay, Southwest T, Meech, Southwest T being free is a huge thing because before Southwest T and before BMF, you had organizations, okay, that the government would then later call gangs, where if you look at Larry Hoover out of Chicago, Jeff Ford out of Chicago, when you look at Luis Felipe, King Blood, all right, who was originally from Chicago but then went to New York. These are individuals. They are still under the jail. ADX, Florence, Supermax, right? So the very fact, this is a big deal, the very fact that Southwest T is out, the fact that Meech has an opportunity to be able to get out, because these are people who, the government assigned a specific threat narrative to these individuals, and these are people who scared the piss out of maybe some greedy, maybe some racist folks who are serving or who were then holding certain offices in the United States government. Those people do have that kind of influence to be able to stop that, man.
So you got to answer the question.
Man, absolutely.
Okay.
When I'm gonna tell you
in
something.
the most offensive way possible.
I'm gonna tell you. Hey, there's a lot of people who I'm sure are gonna be very offended by me putting Southwest T, drawing this parallel between an organization like BMF, right? Who, there are these drug trafficking convictions and everything that are associated with BMF, right? And these other organizations like the Latin Kings, organizations like the Peace Stones, Black Peace Stones out of Chicago, right? Like the Gangster Disciples out of Chicago. These organizations, they absolutely do have the power. This is a great true story that I'm not even going to tell the story, but I would love for you guys to look it up. It was one time Martin Luther King came to Chicago. And when Martin Luther King came to Chicago, there were some folks who they were like throwing rocks at him or something like that, right? And Jeff Ford got on the news because Martin was there to do a series of protests or a series of speeches or something like that. And Jeff Ford got on the news and told him, he said, anybody else throw any rocks, like this man get hit with it. He said, he just let them know, like we laying the law down, it's gonna go down. You're gonna wish you hadn't thrown anything. No more rocks got thrown at Martin Luther King. We talk about what the Black Panthers were able to do, right? And for those of you who don't know, the Black Panthers, that thing started because of police brutality.
Facts.
Huey Newton did his speech. Huey Newton, who, if you don't know, had a PhD, did his dissertation on things like police brutality, community security, and all the rest of that. So, absolutely.
So that's been going on for a while, and it hasn't changed. And in some ways, it's gotten worse. Because cameras and everybody having a camera in their pocket, really shows us how much this actually happens all the time. Hey. And I agree 100%. I think when the people, and it doesn't matter what the people look like,